This is Elton Kane for Finextra at Sibos, and I'm here with Carlo Palmers of Swift. Carlo, there's been a lot of sessions and working groups and forums about real-time payments here at Sibos this week. What are the main things you've taken away from those?
Well, there were indeed quite a number of sessions that were specifically focusing on real-time. Part of those sessions were in our MI forum, and they were extremely well attended. We got top numbers in the MI forum with the real-time sessions that we have had. The topics that were addressed were various. There was an exchange of communities that have such a system in place already with communities that are thinking about implementing such a system. So it was an interesting exchange because you saw experienced people exchanging with people that are still doubting about the benefits, the business case, the use cases, and should we do this, should we go that way? And on the other hand, being pushed by the regulators and their customers, their end consumers, to move on that way. And that exchange between those parties, that was an interesting dialogue, I think.
And it looks like we're going to be soon moving from domestically driven real-time payments implementations with market infrastructures to even larger domestic systems, US for example, or kind of regional implementations of real-time payments. What are some of the key impacts of this transition for real-time payments?
So when we're moving now from smaller countries with a smaller number of participants to larger communities, like for instance in Europe and the US, what we see is that first of all in Europe, for the first time we will be going cross-border. Although it's single currency, we will be growing cross-border, and that brings a number of additional challenges. When you go cross-border, there is different jurisdictions involved, there is different privacy laws involved, so you introduce the requirement of screening of transactions. You cannot rely on KYC purely anymore. So that's definitely one challenge. But also for the value-added services that we're putting in place in many of these countries, like an addressing database that translates mobile numbers into account numbers, doing that cross-border is also a challenge. It's not certain that all this kind of data may be stored abroad. So you might be faced with a distributed database where local numbers for one country are located in one country, and the other numbers are, and you will have to cross-operate, interoperate between those. So that is definitely one challenge when you go cross-border, like in the Eurozone. But also, Eurozone is of course a larger community, and that would apply to the US as well. A larger community, it's most likely that you will not see one single solution there. So you might see multiple solutions. And when you see multiple solutions, one key requirement for any real-time retail payment system is ubiquity. You need to be able to ensure that people that are meeting each other in the street are shielded off from the fact that one person is banking with one bank which is connected to one system, and the other bank person is banking with another bank connected to another system, and they would not be able to talk to each other. That doesn't work. That would prevent take-up. So if you have different solutions, they will have to interoperate with each other, and interoperability between those solutions, well, that's a challenge that we will have to address when we're moving these new systems into larger markets.
Out of those implementations that have already been completed or are underway, what are some of the better approaches you've seen to addressing these challenges?
Well, the one where we're heavily involved in, as you know, is the Australian solution, and there I think it's a role model for how to address community problems. You've got the central bank, the RBA, together with all the commercial banks and the Bankers Association, APCA, who have been sitting together from the very beginning of the project and now throughout the implementation phase to agree on all aspects that are popping up. All issues or all concerns are being addressed in the groups, in the community, by the community of banks, and together they come up with solutions. And since we have signed a contract with them, Swift is part of those discussions, so it's a very interactive and collaborative way to address any issue that might pop up in a community. I think it would be a very good model definitely for larger communities to adopt as well.
Carlo, that's great. Thanks very much for your time.
Very welcome. Thank you.
And thank you for watching.